you can have your issues, right? Because I don't think anybody's perfect. And we just have to say this person is just not for us. This is not my mate. This is not, we can live, you know, in our own little worlds away from each other. You're just not a part of my village, so to speak. And I don't have to bash you for that. You don't have to bash me for that. We just not meant to be in the same room together. Does that make sense? Like,
go ahead.
Because a lot of these issues that we're having with people, when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's generational. You're asking, you sitting here saying a woman who's half naked and she's acting a certain way, more than likely her mom act that way. More than likely her grandmother act that way. So you're asking a taught behavior to just go away because you said it. That takes time. Sometimes, and it can't start with you telling them. It has to start within. Like, I want better for myself, and we can't judge another group of women off of those women who just needed to take the moment to get it right, to see the ill in their behavior. And that's what we're doing. That's what I think we're doing.
So the question I ask is, how can we as men, as black men especially, how can we show our women that we actually do respect them, that we're trying to protect them, that we want the best from them when they are displaying negative behavior? Do we go back to being silent, or do we say something?
You
And
already
every
know.
time,
So
every time we say something, it turns into, if we're on a panel, if we say something and I'm just going to use this space right now, and we say like, hey, this behavior you're exhibiting isn't X, Y, and Z. And be like, hold on, who you talking to? How you gonna tell me how to be? How you gonna tell me how to act? You don't know me. Blah blah blah. Ma'am, I'm not trying to hate on you. What I'm doing, what I think is I want you to be the best version of yourself, and the way the behaviors you're exhibiting is what prevents you from being this great amazing woman. And I'm just trying to shed some light on it. Maybe I tell you in the back chat, and maybe the same thing, I get the same response, right? So I'm trying to understand, how can we show y'all that, hey, as a group, as a whole, we love you. As a group, as a whole, we respect you. As a group, as a whole, we want the best for you. How can we show that, and without coming off as if we're trying to beat you up? Because simply, I think oftentimes we only really want the best version, want you to be the best version of yourself.
So this is what I want you to understand. And I don't know why men don't get this in their heads. Just like there's a group of men that we could probably, we don't want to call those men out because they've done some bad things. We don't like to talk about that portion of people. Women also have that portion of people. It just looks a little different. Maybe they're not in jail. Maybe they're not, but they have siblings. They grew up in the same neighborhood. They have the same behavior because they were raised by the same people. You understand what I'm saying? So it's going to take time to get them to, it's not going to be an overnight, like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do. They have to think for themselves. This is how I want to change this about myself. There's nothing you can do to make them change. You can show them, maybe have a conversation with them, but you can't change people. Only people can change. They can just change themselves. Does that make sense?
Well, I agree, but I think in these platforms, kind of like to what you're saying, when you're ready to change, you're going to seek out the change that you want, right? So even for me, I notice that I begin to listen even though it started in like she critique, having these conversations, hearing different feedback, meeting different people, that it has expanded the type of podcast that I listen to, right? So when you're ready for change, you're going to seek that out, the change that you want. And I think a lot of time in these spaces, you have a lot of gilded men, a lot of gilded women sharing the same space, and they're spewing all of their negative experiences and interactions that they've had over the years in these spaces. And it ends up making it appear that everybody's all effed up. And then you have these same people trying to advise and give advice about how you need to treat women. So you have men on one side that's talking about leave them hoes at the table. Leave them hoes at the table, and then you have on the other side, take his money for all he got. You know what I'm saying? So you have both sides that have been gilded, and they're trying to give advice on how you need to treat each other. And that's why these spaces can be very draining, because you know that they're really not here to learn something. It's really for this arguing for the sake, I think, of arguing. Some people present better and make it sound nice, but they are out there doing the same thing that women are complaining about, why they're getting hurt and why they're starting to move the way that they move. You know what I'm saying? Vice versa. Men, same thing. Oh, these women ain't ish. They're just out here for this money. So you know what? It's just going to be a transactional situation for me going forward. So I think that that's part of it. So I think the only way to change that is that can happen on individual basis until people are actually ready for change. Then they'll seek that out somewhere else. But on an individual basis, it's easy to change that, because if somebody's into you, especially a female, she gonna make the adjustments because she wants you in her space. So if that's something that you want, you lay it down and say, this is what I want. And if that's not what she's gonna, do the gymnastics to make that happen, then you ain't gonna mess with her anyway. But I think it has to come on an individual basis.
And I think this is one of the things that I'm finding about men, right? Men think every Black woman is for them. You want to change her because you're trying to change the OnlyFans chick. You're trying to change all these people to make them fit what you want, instead of just accepting them for who they are. You can't change people. It's something about your mentality that even makes you want to get on OnlyFans. Because most women, for me, I wouldn't even show you it's just in me. Like, I'm sorry, no amount of money is worth me putting my stuff out there like that. Like, it's just not. You know what I'm saying? But then there's some people who may be like, I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. But that's all the way they think, right? So you can't, I think that men so feel like, trying to influence these women to be what they want them to be, but they're showing you who they are.